I'd like to talk about The Boys. And to talk about The Boys, I'm bringing on an old friend of the channel, my former co-host of the Flat Scan Friday stream, Lil Movie Perp.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, The Boys. If you watch that, it's almost 3 seasons deep now. Like we're to the end of the third season, but about 2.5 seasons in, so a couple episodes ago, an event took place. There was like a couple of moments where apparently it's the first time that a good chunk of right wingers finally realized that the show was making fun of them. The boys subreddit r/the boys apparently just went fucking haywire after I think it was the Herogasm episode, maybe the one before. But yeah, and this scene that I'm about to show here, it was a big reason for it, because apparently this is I don't know, it's got the magic words in it that finally like triggered their brain to go, wait a second, they're talking about me.
All lives matter. All lives matter. Soup lives matter. Soup lives matter. Soup lives matter.
So yeah, apparently it was the all lives matter, soup lives matter thing that yeah, it was just like a trigger word for some folks.
Okay, maybe season 1 I could understand. It went over some heads. But Stormfront, are you kidding me? Like they were like that. How did they get through season 2?
I honestly don't know. I mean, here's the deal with the subreddit. The subreddit has existed for a few years, but apparently it changed. Like they changed mods between season 2 and 3, and they had instituted. I think the previous mod team had instituted a no politics. Can't talk politics, which is pretty impossible if you're going to talk about the boys. So this is from Eric Kripke in November 2020, right after the first season ended, I think. And you see at this million MAGA march, which only had, like a couple thousand people, something like that. So not even close to a million. But you got a guy dressed as Homelander with a Trump face on, right?
Okay, it's kind of apropos, but I don't think for the reasons they think.
Right. Well, and this is what Eric Kripke, the showrunner, said. Are they even watching the show?
Yeah.
Right. And then so after season 3 began, so you know the big moment in the first episode of season 3, which was the
spoilers.
Spoilers. The Ant-Man scene, so to speak.
Hell yeah.
Where they actually, I don't know if you heard this, but they actually, they took the meme about, from Avengers Endgame, where like, why doesn't Ant-Man just shrink and jump into Thanos' ass? And, that's what they took inspiration from for that scene. And after that first episode of season 3, this one's just funny. You started seeing reviews like this. Very political and very anti-male. Plenty of male butts and wieners, though. Enjoy. So yeah, I guess that guy didn't like that close-up of the penis head that they have.
If you're showing too much wiener and man butt, it's anti-men.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's an unwritten rule that there's like, if you're going to show any man butt, there needs to be like at least 5 women butts in the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's got to be.
That's what they meant. Okay.
And if you're going to show a dick, you got to show at least 5 sets of boobs. That's what Game of Thrones did. Like there was usually more boobs than dicks on Game of Thrones, but every once in a while they had a floppy wiener.
Yeah.
Things have been getting interesting for this season of fans of Amazon's superhero satire that offers weekly skewerings of fascism, corporate capitalism, clout chasing, toxic masculinity, and the very idea of fandom. The Boys subreddit is in chaos right now, tweeted Ryan Broderick. After an episode aired that featured Blue Hawk, a vigilante with a tendency toward over-policing black neighborhoods, having a violent freakout at a black community center, yelling things like, all soups matter. Well, he actually said soup lives matter, but that's okay. Threads are getting locked. Users are rage deleting their whole account. Fans who thought Homelander was cool are in a meltdown. Yeah, then it talks about that 2020 tweet with the guy in the Homelander thing. And this is all just this is from a couple of different sources. What were you gonna say? Sorry.
No, I'm just gonna. It's just So now, because I love the boys, and I've been saying, oh, Homelander is a cool character, but he's a cool character from the outside. I don't think he's
Right.
like, you know, if he was real, no, like
Well, like if you're, he's definitely. I mean, he's clearly Anthony Starr, the actor, is fucking doing a phenomenal job. He deserves like
amazing,
awards and shit.
amazing. I put him up there with Joker. He's Joker tier. No, that villain is
Yeah.
Joker tier to me.
Yeah.
He's such an interesting, fascinating character.
But there's a difference between a character that's compelling because he's just well written and well performed, and one that you relate to.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't relate to Homelander. You know, like there's something wrong if you do.
No, it just it kind of disturbs me that if I'm talking to someone and like a fan and we're like, yeah, Homelander's cool, that person is saying cool in a different way. You know, like, I didn't even think of that. Makes me feel icky. I don't know.
Yeah. So Eric Kripke had admitted to Rolling Stone that Homelander's similarity to Donald Trump, which he'd acknowledged in the past, was in the show's third season growing more bald. And that's the word he used. I don't know if there's any, subtext he means to imply with that about Donald Trump. I don't know. The world is getting more coarse and less elegant, Kripke said. But part of it is where Homelander's story naturally goes. He has this really combustible mix of complete weakness and insecurity and horrible power and ambition. Yeah. And he's willing to ally himself with Nazis if it serves his purpose. He's not picky about the ideology as long as he gets to dominate.
Yeah, that's even what made it interesting, is that you could tell like he wasn't interested in Nazism. He was just using it just to inflate his own ego, and the minute it's gone, it's gone, whatever. That's so interesting. You know, they could have in a worse thing, he would have gone full Nazi, right? If it was like it wasn't crafted as well as it clearly is with this character. Yeah, it's great.
So the subreddit started banning political threads, a mod for Are the Boys Explained sounding exhausted, and providing a window into the stalled out circle of discourse around this show. And this is fascinating because really he's describing the cycle of discourse in about the show in the subreddit, but like it sounds like it could be almost any political discourse.
Yeah.
We get multiple political threads posted every day that are basically the same topic rehashed over and over again. Right-wingers are finally understanding that the show is making fun of them. They get pissy and complain about the show. A user on the sub posts about it making fun of them. Something, the show makes fun of both sides. Then the mod went on. People say, actually, it doesn't really make fun of both sides. It makes fun of liberal fake wokeness from a leftist perspective. Then at last, the thread devolves into people calling each other names, random racial hate speech, rinse and repeat 20 times a day. And I would agree with that last part that like the show is not equally judgmental of both sides in the sense that like if you fucking know what you're watching and you have an idea of political ideology, the show is pretty clearly progressive and even bordering on anti-capitalist.
Yes.
At least anti-corporate. But the whole point of the show is about power hierarchies and how just some people should not be, given all this power over other people, and because then they are unaccountable for, they end up doing fucked up shit and nobody holds them to account. All of that's real. It's just the superpowers that are the fantastical element.
Yeah. If I could maybe stretch it almost, I don't know if I'm reaching, but it's almost critiquing leftism while making fun of rightism in a weird way.
Well, what I think it's doing is critiquing corporate woke leftism.
Yes,
like,
that's what I meant. Yeah.
The types of companies that will put a pride flag on their logo during June, but they're also donating to conservative campaigns that are actively trying to, suppress gay people.
Absolutely.
And that type of, just kind of cynical, hollow shit.
I thought that was a Queen Maeve's subplot in season 2 that I really enjoyed. Yeah.
And then they revisited that whenever they went to Votland or whatever it was. This season, Frenchie and Kimiko, and they had like Maeve's vegetarian tacos and like shit like that. Yeah, there was very clearly like making fun of the corporate, corporations taking the aesthetics of progressivism and using it to their advantage, which, if you pay attention, leftists critique that too. You know what I mean? Like if you look on Twitter any day of the week, leftists are going to be talking about that shit just as much as the right is. But the difference is they're not talking about the ideology of progressivism. They're talking about this cynical, hollow shit that doesn't actually achieve anything. Whereas The Boys is actually damning and judging, placing a negative value judgment on right-wing ideology. That's what they did with Stormfront. That's what they're doing with the, with Blue Hawk.
Yeah, and it's very clear because the whole corporate thing is sort of what A-Train has been doing now. He's sort of trying to do this, in a cynical way, trying to was going to use the black community to try to get back up, and then actually sees that there's a problem there, and actually actually gets affected by it. And I thought that was pretty good too. That was pretty interesting take. It's not just corporate, but also the individuals that would use something like that. But they gave him a good arc with it. They gave him a great arc with it, and just like Wanda, A-Train for me has been S tier this season. Like
he's great.
One of my favorites. Yeah,
like that. Just the scene. When you want to talk about kind of there's a whole lot of crazy stuff that goes on to talk about. But then, especially in Herogasm, that episode was jam packed with fucking awesome shit. But just the moment where he sincerely apologizes to Huey was like, God damn, that's he meant it. I mean, it sucks that it takes somebody having something happen to them personally before they can empathize with other people, but that's how it is sometimes.
Yeah,
it
and I was
like that.
And I was talking to a friend about that, and I was like, well, do you think he's done? Do you think he's dead? I was like, well, yeah, his arc is complete. It was beautiful. It's all that, but it's not. They still surprised me. I was like, oh god, the boys gets me every time.
No, I was with you. I thought that I was like, well, that's a good way for him to go out, kind of like a bittersweet ending. Like he did the right thing, but he also, But then Willow was like, no, I don't think A-Train's dead, and I'm like, what? But yep.
No, the boys they're smarter than us, Dane.
But I mean, the fact that they gave him, spoiler alert, by the way, for all this, but like they gave him fucking Blue Hawk's heart. What the fuck, man? Like
that's so fucking good. Like this is like this. That's so comic book, but at the same time, it's like it's great satire. A great. I don't even know what it is. Like the boys, I have to say, is like my favorite superhero anything going on right now. Like I love the MCU, of course. I'm loving Miss Marvel. I love Doctor Strange. I love that. But the boys is giving me so much that from every corner. Like now the action's good too, right? Like I think the first season there's a couple good action scenes. Like this one, the fights, the shootouts, the effects are way better. It's
like that 3-on-1 fight against Homelander was like one of my favorite superhero battles ever. Just like, because, I mean, it was like well choreographed and executed, but just all of the disparate motives behind it and everything coming together and shit was just like, oh, this is fucking juicy.
When Butcher gives him that smile, you're just, dude, I was cheering. I was like, this is so good. And then the next episode, I cheered again just with like Maeve saying, you got a bruise. Like, are you hiding a bruise? Like, I was like, oh, good. Now Maeve knows too. I'm so happy for this is great. It's phenomenal.
Good stuff. So here's something I'll throw out there for you and for the audience to chew on. This was in a discussion actually a few weeks ago. I think it was under Jesse Gender was discussing the boys and this very topic of like, no, it doesn't actually take equal aim at the left and right ideology wise.
No.
But so somebody was saying that and they're wrong. They're like, it's basically like South Park, how it takes aim at both sides. And it's like, no, it's not like that. And then I equated it to two different comedians. So like South Park is like Joe Rogan, where it thinks it's being in the middle, but really a lot of its default positions end up kind of taking a rightward slant. Especially socially, like when it had that episode about trans women in sports and stuff.
The
it was
Boy Scout episode is where it hit me. I was like, I don't know.
Pretty, So like maybe sometimes they're in the center, but it's definitely right of center. And that I would say South Park is like Joe Rogan that way, right? Mm-hmm. And then the boys is like George Carlin, in that they hit up, they hit at institutions, it hits at the cynicism of progressive, corporate bullshit. But generally, Carlin, if you watch all his stuff, he was constantly shit talking right-wing ideology. And every once in a while he would like, go off about the liberal idea of like, oh, we're gonna save the planet or whatever, but he wasn't like saying climate change is fake. He was just like, no, the idea that we can like as people just decide we're going to clean up some litter and save the planet. But so yeah, I think that's an apt comparison. South Park equals Joe Rogan. The Boys equals George Carlin.
Yeah, I believe South Park has changed course. I haven't caught up, but I think I remember reading a story about either Trey Parker or Matt Stone saying, yeah, we went a little too hard on people like Al Gore and stuff like that.
Oh, they did an episode about it because
okay.
where they had Man Bear Pig actually come back, and first Al Gore shows up and he's like, we didn't stop him, and they're like, shut up, Al Gore, Man Bear Pig's not real, because in the original Man Bear Pig was climate change, right? But in this one, then Man Bear Pig really shows up and starts just like randomly killing people in the streets and stuff like that. And it's always somebody that's like, no, that's bullshit. Man Bear Pig's not real. Then Man Bear Pig shows up and just tears the guy apart. And he's like, I told you.
Yeah. That was a recent episode?
Yeah, couple seasons.
Yeah.
Sketchy says South Park dresses up indiscriminate apathy as cynicism. Yeah, that's a good point.
Damn. Who's your favorite Boys character? Or name the top 3 if you can't pick one.
Shit. I mean, Homelander. You always want to see what Homelander's up to.
Yeah.
And not to mention the fact that, like, pretty much any time that somebody that is opposed to Homelander is in a room with him, you're worried they're not going to leave that room alive.
It's very intense. Yeah.
And then me and Willow were talking about this, like in last episode, where Starlight goes into the tower, steals the shit, and then she's on her way out and he just walks up like, hey, and it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
And you're like, how is she going to get out of this? And the show is really good at putting people in that kind of situation, and then also giving a plausible reason, which was she was streaming the whole thing of how she gets out of it. And it's like, oh man, that's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
So Homelander probably, I mean, Butcher's great. And then,
yeah, who's your third? That's going to be the important one. I think I'm sort of with you. Yeah, let's get Butcher and Homelander out of the way. Okay, who's?
I'll do a wild card just because for the Shaden fraud. Shaden fraud. How do you say it? I love seeing what kind of bullshit the Deep gets himself into.
Yes. Yeah, dude.
Oh yeah, freaking absolutely, dude. This season, Jensen Ackles is fucking amazing, man. Like, he's really, really good in this role. Like, yeah, really good.
He's really good at playing. I don't know where this guy's gonna land. Like,
yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. He does the ambiguous thing very well.
His delivery is just so good. Like, even the funny stuff where he's not being comedic, but so like whenever Huey was like, "Do you even know what Bluetooth or GPS is?" and he's like, "You just made those words up." Fucking great.
Yeah, and I love seeing the clear, like, I guess, I don't know what to call it, metaphor or what they're sort of trying to emulate. Like, it's very clear Soldier Boy's Captain America, Homelander's Superman, and then Black Noir is the Batman in a weird way, right? But at the same time, it's like, there was like a line in one of the other seasons where, like, no, like, I think A-Train or something was saying, like, no, we need a runner on the team. So it's like that cynical corporate like team building aspect. I love that. And I love how Black Noir is supposed to be their Batman, but he really isn't, in a weird way.
Yeah.
So it's like they want him to be a ninja, but he's not a ninja technically, because he's not slick. He's not like, he sets up all the booby traps and stuff like that. And so I love that, it's almost like a fan theory, or maybe I'm reading too much into it. I love the idea that they forced Black Noir into that. It's like, no, you got to be the Batman. You got to be the ninja. We need a ninja no matter what.
Yeah. I mean, Black Noir is the wild card character for me, like, as someone who's read some of the comics and stuff. Like, because they've done something completely different with him than in the comics. Because in the comics, he's silent. You don't see his face for a long time. And then, spoiler alert for the Boys comics. Eventually, you learn that he's actually just a clone of Homelander.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's like the reason why he was always just 100% on Homelander's side in the comics and stuff. But yeah, they've obviously done something completely different with this one. Yeah. Which is cool. Like the Black Noir stuff in the last episode was like, God damn, this guy's kind of crazy.
This guy's Deadpool. Okay, now we got a Deadpool too to add to the Batman.
Right.
They want the Deadpool to be Batman is the way I look at it, which makes it way more fascinating and just hilarious to me.
Yeah, so I meant to get to this part, just the last bit of the whole thing with MAGA folks and the boys. So there's one Reddit post where a guy said he's admitting that they liked the vigilante Blue Hawk until the end of his speech, before he actually took the post down.
What?
Yeah. So like, yeah, somebody actually admitted that, like, I liked Blue Hawk until the very end of that speech that we watched. So like,
But, like,
basically,
I find that impossible because before we even meet Blue Hawk, it's like A-Train's hearing all these horror stories, and like the characters are literally telling A-Train, "Hey, this racist guy is picking on black folks." So how the hell, like, did they not see that? Like, that's before we even meet him, right?
Yep.
Am I
Yep.
reading this right? So
No,
how the
you're
hell is
right.
this possible?
Well, I mean, dude, there's real people in the U.S. who think that the whole police brutality thing against black people is not a real problem. So it makes sense that there'd be somebody that would go, "Oh, that's just that liberal bullshit. He's a good superhero."
No, I kind of disagree with you, Dan, because I think those people that are in real life, like, I understand they're watching only Fox, they're only seeing Tucker Carlson, they're only seeing that stuff, and they're telling him it's okay. It's like, this literally showed two characters that we know that the brother is like the voice of reason. We know that, like, we know that he helps him out. He seems like the good guy in the relationship, almost keeping A-Train stay as good as he possibly could be. So and those two guys are right there in front of the screen saying, like, the good guy is telling him this dude is picking on black people. He's doing
You know
great.
what?
Like,
You know
how
what
the hell
you're
did
you know what
go.
you're missing? You know what you're missing in your analysis and in the equation there?
Yeah.
They're black.
So they just
And
ignored, like, but
so these are just racists.
yeah,
That's
have to be racist.